Hello everyone, how's it going? So, a video has come my way today. It's entitled "A Doctor Watches What the Health," which is obviously the documentary that came out recently by the same guys that did Cowspiracy. You've probably seen this video floating about on social media. I know it's doing the rounds on Facebook at the moment. Let's get into it. Let's take a look.
Joaquin Phoenix is the executive producer? Really?
Films have producers, that's how it works. Sorry.
The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same group as cigarettes, asbestos, and plutonium.
Plutonium is totally vegan, just in case you're wondering.
Ha! The jokes. That was a good one.
And more shocking, on their Eat Healthy page, they actually encouraged eating Group 1 carcinogenic foods like processed turkey and canned meats. This is after the World Health Organization reviewed over 800 studies definitively linking processed meat to cancer.
I mean, what exactly are you documenting in this documentary? Like the fact that you're an idiot for most of your life and are just now realizing that life causes cancer? Like, wow, like maybe the shit in the supermarket that's highly processed is bad for you? That's news? Like this guy got funding to make this documentary?
Maybe you've got family members who are suffering with cancer. In that case, they're idiots, and you're an idiot. Maybe you make the kids lunch using sandwich ham, dinner of bangers and mash sausages. You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you didn't know that processed food, that is quite often advertised as being part of a healthy lunch or a healthy dinner, is, you know, it's a carcinogen. It's carcinogenic. It causes cancer. That's your fault. You're the idiot. It's a stupid question. I mean, he's at the beginning of the documentary and he's asking, what are you documenting? Well, that's why you watch it and find out. I mean, obviously he knows. But to kind of make a shitty comment about, do people not know? Does Kip not know that that sausages and bacon are carcinogenic? If not, then he's the idiot, right? The point he's making is that this is a cancer charity, and on their website they're promoting foods that are carcinogenic, which is a nonsense. But as long as we get the memes in, as long as we get the jokes in, that's fine. That's good. We're all good.
Was this like I had essentially been smoking my entire childhood?
Okay, how many people haven't given their kids a cigar and a hot dog bun as a gag? I mean, come on, you know? And then they're like, oh my God, it burns. I'm like, I got you, kid.
That's a child abuse. I don't know what legal position that puts me in as kind of bearing witness to a confession of that type. But that's a child. That's at least one child abuse there. So powering on.
Hi, I was calling because I was wondering why you all recommend people to eat processed meat on your website, which the World Health Organization has classified as a Group 1 carcinogen.
At this point, the phone goes, para español, oprime el número 3. He's like talking to a phone tree.
What time are we in this documentary? How are we supposed to make it through another hour and a half?
Dude, there's an hour and 27 minutes left to go in this shit.
I'm going to tell you now, they're not going to watch the whole thing.
Like a lung association having a how to roll your own cigarette section on their website. It's kind of the same thing.
But let me just place you on a brief hold because
He wasn't able to answer my questions and said someone would get back with me.
That's because he's in India at a call center.
I mean, is that has no bearing on? It's just joke. He's just joking around. That's a joke. It's a shit joke because the guy on the phone clearly had a very American accent. What he's going for is this stereotype that, you know, there are these call centers in, you know, third world countries and kind of less affluent parts of the world because the labor's cheaper, and so he's not going to get as good an answer. But I don't know, like, am I losing my fucking mind? This is ridiculous. I mean, again, the point is he's calling a charity, a cancer charity, about advice they're putting on their website, and the guy doesn't have an answer. That's an issue that needs to be looked into. But let's make jokes about Indian call centers and everything, because that didn't get boring like 10 years ago.
had they known the link between diet and this terrible disease.
No, it wouldn't have been different because they still would have eaten shit. That's what people do. You tell people cigarettes cause cancer, they continue to smoke.
They don't often give their kids cigarettes though, do they? That's the difference. I mean, what, in the US between 2005 and 2015, was it smoking dropped by like 10% again? We're down to, I think, 15% of the US smokes, which I would imagine is much smaller as a percentage than the number of people in the US who eat bacon and or sausages and or processed meat in sandwich ham form and turkey and chicken and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's just such a stupid thing. The difference is that people who smoke know it's bad for them. They're making a choice. They're deciding that the pleasure they get out of smoking is good enough for them to fly in the face of what they know is unhealthy about it. People don't know. People give I keep going back to the kids thing, but that's the crux of this, isn't it? People give their kids sausages. I had sausages and bacon and all sorts as a kid. Took ham sandwiches to school. You put all the salad in there you want. If people don't know that ham is carcinogenic, then they're not making an informed choice.
Okay, never wear those pants in public. That's a group 1 carcinogen, wearing those pants.
So I went.
Memes, that's a burn. That's a meme burn. Burn on the meme. Kip's pants, they're a meme.
And it turns out last night, after I told her that the interview is going to be about the correlation between diet and cancer, she said she could no longer do the interview.
She probably Googled you and was like, this guy's a dipshit hippie. I don't want to fucking have anything to do with him.
Van Super Blue once again out on the road.
Oh my God, dude. He's Shaggy, and that's his mystery machine. Except it's a pseudoscience mystery machine.
It's heartwarming to see that somebody's laughing at his jokes. Even if it's the moron off screen and he's laughing at his own joke. Someone's laughing, and that's good, because laughter is the best medicine, and that's not pseudoscience.
As a cause of diabetes. But I wanted to talk with an actual expert on the role of diet and diabetes. What role does sugar...
Okay, hold on. How is it that Dr. Neil Barnard gets the title Premier Researcher and Diabetes Expert? Like what?
I'm going to stop you there. Probably something to do with his, 30, 40 something years in the field as a licensed practicing doctor and medical researcher, and founder of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which also runs a lot of nutritional oriented tests as well. I mean, I don't understand. Like, what a stupid fucking question. What positions Neil Barnard to be an expert in this field? I mean, does this fucking moron think that putting a stethoscope around his neck is going to make him seem more doctorly? I mean, I know he is an actual doctor, and we'll come on to that in a bit, but it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What do you need to do to have that?
Diabetes is...
Hang on. I want you to fucking bear with me on this one, right? What positions Neil Barnard as an expert here? Picture of his book. He's actually written something like 15, 16, 17 books, but I know if you just Google, is Neil Barnard bad? That's probably one of the first image results, because I imagine this guy deals in pictures, not words. That's one of the most popular book will be the one that shows up first. So I kind of understand that. But what happens if we scroll a little bit down on this page? Oh, fuck me. Become a patron of the show on Patreon, and then shop Amazon using this link. I mean, affiliate advertising program, we earn fees by linking to Amazon and affiliate sites. I mean, it... you know what I mean? It's like, he's written a book. Is he making all this shit up? Is he a bad person to talk to because he wrote a book? No, he wrote a book because he's the expert on this stuff. Dear me.
It's not and never was caused by eating a high carbohydrate diet, and it's not caused by eating sugar. The cause of diabetes is a diet that builds up the amount of fat into the blood. I'm talking about a typical meat-based, animal-based diet into the muscle cells of the human body, and you find that they're building up tiny particles of fat that's causing insulin resistance. What that means is The sugar that is naturally from the foods that you're eating can't get into the cells where it belongs. It builds up in the blood, and that's diabetes.
Did he just say that fat in the blood is what causes diabetes?
No, actually, he said that you end up with more blood sugar, more sugar in your blood, because you have fat in your cells, your muscle cells, intracellular lipid. The fat gets into the cells, clogs it up, stops it being able to signal to let the blood sugar in. The shocked face kind of just makes you look like a bit of a twat, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that's... Maybe if you're going to ask the question, maybe just rewatch the bit that you just watched and make sure that you've understood it. It might be difficult. You might have to slow down and kind of rewind and do it a couple of times, but it's worth it because you end up avoiding asking stupid questions.
The reason that fat builds up in those tissues is because of a high carbohydrate, high triglyceride generating diet. Ace?
No, it's not. Also, there are... I think it's worth at least pointing out that a triglyceride is 3 fats and 1 sugar.
Fat in and of themselves.
Carbs cannot make you fat in and of themselves, dude. Tell that to homie drinking the syrupy soda with the sugar in it. One size doesn't fit all. These guys are making statements that immediately discredit them because they're saying this is true for everyone. It's not. Everybody's genetics are different.
Everyone's genetics are different to an extent, but we're all humans. We're all one species. That's kind of the point here. There's not one diet. There's not multiple diets for different species of animal, different groups of the same species. Humans, there is a diet that is designed for humans because we evolved eating that diet. If there wasn't a diet that avoided making us sick and unhealthy and unwieldy, we wouldn't have survived as a species. It's to say everyone's genetics are different it's just stupid. It's an open-ended, vague comment that actually doesn't really say anything. There's not one person who benefits from eating fat, one person who benefits from eating carbs, and one person who benefits from eating coal. That's not how it works. There is a diet for an organic species that helps that organic species grow, and that organic species helps the constituents of that diet. Your carnivores they help the herbivores by only eating and hunting the sick and the weak and the dying and the old, the ones with metabolic problems. The animals that are sick don't survive to breed. That's how carnivores help the herbivores grow. They stay strong. The best of the species survive. Same as herbivores, like humans, we eat only the brightest and the prettiest fruits because they've got nice levels of antioxidants. They're nice and healthy. We eat those. We then poop out the seeds in our little fertilizer stool, and ordinarily we'd leave that around in little pockets of nature. And those seeds would grow. That's how we benefit the plant species that we eat. It's just ludicrous.
We eat carbs, we either store it or we burn it. Now, eat fat, that goes straight to your fat. Your body can't turn those carbs into fat unless you're really overdoing the calories. Obesity, it's a death sentence.
Did this guy actually take a physiology class? Like, are you kidding me? Wait, carbs can't be turned into fat? Like, fat goes right into fat? No. Fat can be absolutely metabolized into ketone bodies and used for fuel, especially in the setting of a low carbohydrate diet. That isn't for everybody, but this guy is painting everybody with one brush. And you know what? It sells documentaries, but it...
So... first off, do you notice the disclaimer there? It's not for everyone. Immediately, he's able to justify any data or any facts that go against what he's saying because it doesn't work for everyone. Fortunately, it's not how biology works when it comes to nutrition in diet on this scale. But you're saying that carbs can be turned into fat. Your glycogen stores have to be saturated. They have to be full to the absolute maximum. I think, was it? I know I shouldn't quote him because he's not an expert, but Neil Bernard said that I think it's about 20%. You burn 20% of the calories of carbs that you're trying to store as fat. It's a very difficult process to actually work your way through. The other side of things, fat can be burned as energy. It's true. Fat can be burned as energy if you're in ketosis, which is the ketosis. Basically, your carb stores are empty, and your body is starved of energy. That a gross oversimplification of it, but that is basically what we're talking about. It's an emergency subroutine your body goes through. There was a spate of studies a while back where doctors would treat people with ketosis, but it's not feasible. It doesn't work long term. They do lose the weight immediately, but because they're starving themselves, it doesn't work. You can't eat a high carb, low carb, high meat, standard American diet and remain in ketosis. That's not how it works. So maybe he should go on a physiology course, medical course. Maybe he needs to go back to med school. He might actually benefit from watching the rest of the documentary. We never know. We'll see how much he watches.
Isn't very funny at all. I'm like getting angry about this.
When you eat sugar, you're not getting plaques forming in your vessels. When you're eating sugar, your body's going to store most of it as glycogen.
This guy doesn't understand basic carbohydrate physiology, and he runs a, quote, weight loss center. So he's making money selling people the contrary view, which isn't a one-size-fits-all view.
I don't know. Maybe that's worth pointing out here. It's ridiculous. Sales 101. A little bit of a background here, so I can kind of attest to this. When you're trying to sell somebody something, what you want to do is tell them what they want to hear. Nobody wants to hear, if you want to be healthy, you need to go vegan. No one's going to go, damn it, that's what I've been waiting to hear. People like Atkins and the other low carb people make their money by telling people what they want to hear. Potatoes, boring. Cut potatoes out. You can eat as much steak and all sorts of nonsense as you want, but got to cut out those potatoes, cut out that pasta, cut out that rice. You can't. It's harder to sell people something on something they don't want to hear. So
when you overload your body with carbohydrates, the liver turns it into fat and triglycerides, and it's stored as fat. This is a simple physiologic fact. So he should, look, the problem with this documentary already is that it's going to mislead people into thinking there's one answer, right? And it is not one answer. This is a complex issue. That's why nutrition is so difficult to study and to recommend, because there's no one size fits all.
There is a fantastic lecture I'm going to drop into the description box down below. You should take a look. All about the food we're supposed to eat. We have no biological mutations, no biological capabilities to deal with eating meat or dairy. We're herbivores, straight over. Herbivores all the way. This notion that nutrition is just so difficult, we just don't know enough about it. We've been studying it for 100 years or so, but we still don't really understand what's going on. Well, actually, it's very simple if you look at the root cause of it. Looking at all these different metabolic and kind of system diseases might seem complicated, but they're all traced back to one singular root point. We're not supposed to eat meat or dairy. We're not supposed to eat meat. The second you take the meat out of a person, the body starts doing what it's supposed to do, because that's what it's designed to do. That's how we survived. So
are making, so I did some searching on my own.
This idiot goes on Google and goes, Google, processed meat and diabetes. Hey, look! Confirmation bias. He's already decided, I'm going to sell a documentary, I'm going to sell books, I'm going to sell tapes, I'm going to do seminars, I'm going to become a luminary in the space promoting a non-meat diet to cure diabetes. Now he's going to find any bit of data, he's going to spin it to support his bias.
Go. Okay, well, I agree with him on this point that there is you have to be very careful of confirmation bias when you're looking at this stuff. I do my very best to look at all sources. The sad fact is, usually when you look at pro-meat and dairy sources, you find that there are corporate interests involved, whereas with the nutritional ones, there aren't. With the kind of plant-based ones, there really isn't that much in the way of bias. Sometimes there is, and it always needs to be declared. It always needs to be pointed out. But to call this filmmaker, to call Kip an idiot is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, for a start, he's more popular online than this moron is. So, you know, I kind of feel like even if we reduce this down to what he wants out of this, Kip's winning at that as well. So, yeah.
Wait, what's on this guy's nipple? His right nipple is wet. He is lactating, which is a sign of a poor diet.
Just want to throw this out there. Dr. Michael Clapper is again a long-standing doctor, practicing doctor, medical professional, and researcher, and he was also a nutritional advisor to NASA. So I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit more respect due there, or at least some understanding that calling him names and pointing out that a practicing doctor being filmed clearly in his place of work has something on his shirt. Might be because he was doing actual doctor work instead of being what I would generously call a rapper.
Is chicken better? It's a question of whether you want to be shot or hung.
Would eliminate from the American diet would be poultry, would be turkey and chicken. A brilliant advertising campaign.
We sent researchers into fast food and family restaurants. Not only were there carcinogens in every single restaurant, but we found them in every
I see what he did there. It's funny because he's literally poisoning himself on camera.
Is chicken because of the volume of chicken. You know, chicken's become grilled chicken and organic chicken. It's machismo, but it has nearly as much cholesterol per gram as red beef.
Dietary cholesterol is not associated with coronary artery disease, period.
But then
What? What? I mean, what? I don't know. Maybe I'm doing the shocked thing now. Maybe he was legitimately shocked before, because I feel like I must be pulling the same face. It is. I'm not even going to argue the point. I'm not even a doctor. I aggregate research and try to make it accessible to people. As you can see on the Keep It Vegan website, which is not behind a paywall. Just feel like it's worth pointing out. But yeah, I didn't feel like I even needed to host some research on dietary cholesterol being linked to heart disease or artery disease, because it is. It's like arguing about evolution, isn't it? Jesus.
I found a study suggesting that eating just one egg a day can be as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes per day for life expectancy.
I found a study that shows XXX. Be very skeptical when people misinterpret data and results to support something they intuitively think or are trying to sell.
We agree on this, though perhaps not the way he thinks. Yes, it is always risky when you say, here's a study that points out a thing, but that study still took place, and if it's peer-reviewed as well, you can't... That's still a thing, that still happened. I would say be very wary of internet celebrities running their mouth off and insulting people for the memes, whilst talking about something that is actually fundamentally very important to get correct. But...
processing chemicals, this is all a lot more complicated than...
Oh, Michelle, you used the T word. Toxins. So, Michelle McCacken, who was just on screen, again, very, very highly educated, very successful medical professional. It's this guy doesn't know her. He doesn't know her, and being able to say, oh, Michelle, you mentioned toxins, that makes it sound like he has something to say. He doesn't, otherwise he'd have said it. He clearly loves talking, but it's just ridiculous. Like, I could quite easily go, ZDogg, you ate the jerky, and make it sound like it's a thing. It's not a thing. It is a thing. He's going to die because that stuff is really bad for you. But the point still stands. It's just fake it till you make it, I suppose.
Delta bad genetic deck, you can still reshuffle it with diet.
This is true. I agree with him. The question is, what diet? Nobody knows the answer yet for an individual. We're going to get there. But fear-mongering is not the way to do this.
Do you hear that? We're going to get there. He's working on it. This is something I didn't realise. He's working on it. He's working on medical nutritional research. This is fantastic. He's going to have the answers for us. We're going to have, maybe not individually. I mean, research, we've been doing research for 100 years or so. But, you know, now that he's on it, now that he's on this, that ZDogg is on this, fantastic. We're going to find out the answer, okay? It doesn't matter that this documentary quotes and interviews and is inspired by the research of tens of, maybe more, seasoned expert medical professionals who have spent, in some cases, up to 50 years in the industry doing some incredible work researching. That's unimportant because we're going to get there. That means he's going to get there. And I can't wait to see ZDogg's first peer-reviewed nutritional study. What am I kidding? It'll obviously come out in a book, won't it?
Recipes on beef recipes, and there's also a section on egg recipes when there's such a strong link between beef, red meat, and heart disease.
I honestly don't know because I don't do that, I guess. That's not what I do.
Another organization rep that wasn't able to answer my questions. But he said that
It's like you're calling the guy who answers the phones for the American Heart Association. He's not a scientist.
It would be like calling like any random McDonald's and be like, "What were your profits in Q2 last
exactly.
year?"
You tell me about your sustainable farming practices, McDonald's rep guy on the phone who cooks the fries.
Okay, first off, leave the stand-up out because it's not strong, mate. Secondly, he's a super healthy guy. He's clearly never been into a McDonald's or fast food chain. Fry cooks generally don't tend to also answer a switchboard. You end up with a phone getting covered in grease. It's a logistical nightmare. Thirdly, Kip's not talking to a receptionist or maybe a musician's fan club, or maybe even a phone sex line. He's talking to the advisors for a health charity about information they're putting on their website to advise people on the diseases and problems that are related to this charity. If he calls up an advisor and says, "What's the deal with this information that you have on your website? Doesn't it relate to these health studies which actually contradict everything that you're saying?" And that person doesn't have the answer and can't answer that question, that's a sign they're not able to give the advice that's necessary. They're not being good advisors. And that's not necessarily the individual's fault. That's the problem here. That's the issue. So your little skit, your little gig, it's not great. You're a bit shit, actually. I wouldn't give up the day. Actually, the day job is being an internet celebrity / rapper. So I'd maybe give that up as well. Be a fry cook. There's things you can learn about that. You might find that quite enriching.
Certain types of fish should be avoided. But what about all these other animal products which are introducing, imagine as the fetus is developing, introducing these very harmful toxins.
Oh my God, like there are toxins in the meat and they're gonna get in my booby milk and the baby's gonna get toxified and then we'll never be able to have a reality show or a New York Times bestseller because I'm a certified nutritionist, whatever that means.
Our government.
Arrogant fuck me sideways. That's obscene. That is obscene behaviour. That's fucking gone beyond the realm of arguing that actually their science isn't as good as your made up science. But that's just, I mean, is it worth pointing out that every time a man has said something in this documentary, he's combated it saying, well, actually that's wrong and that's wrong. But when the two women have spoken up, he's belittled them and made them out to be idiots. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's something worth pointing out. I certainly think the weird, creaky, semi-falsetto and shitty comments about reality television show and whatever. So, if you're a nutritionist, if you are a certified nutritionist, whatever that means, please leave us a comment, share it around, get in touch. I would love to know what your job actually is, because ZDogg MD, internet celebrity and rapper, would like to know what your job is. That would be grand.
is encouraging Americans of color to eat foods that it knows is going to make them ill. Ultimately, what that boils down to is the government is telling me as an African American to eat food that's going to make me ill for no health benefit so that it will benefit dairy farmers. That's a form of institutionalized racism.
Oh my God. What? What?
So milk is a form of institutionalized racism. Do you see now why nutrition is so charged emotionally, why people can't even talk about it without punching each other, why when this documentary filmmaker calls up the American Cancer Society and says, I want to talk about nutrition, they go, next, because they're used to people who are crazy.
So I think anytime anyone's talking about racism, institutionalized or otherwise, laughing about it is kind of shit. And actually, in this case, this is literally what it is. The majority of African Americans are lactose intolerant. Government tells them to consume more lactose, and it doesn't benefit the people consuming the lactose. It benefits the USDA and the farmers that they represent. I mean, it's not hard to understand, is it? I mean, I'm hoping that other people are watching this and also thinking, wow, that guy's a complete shit burglar, as opposed to, yeah, he's right. The notion that telling a demographic of people to eat something or drink something that's by its very nature bad for them is something to laugh about. I don't know. I mean, am I going crazy? It certainly feels like it sometimes.
Are behaving in an insane emotional way around this, right? Yeah, the FDA and the government give stupid nutrition recommendations. I'm the first to say that, because they're saying eat a hell of a bunch of carbs. Like, you need a balanced diet based on your genetics. There's no one size fits all, and we need to study nutrition better and more extensively and stop misinterpreting the studies.
Yeah, we need to stop misinterpreting the studies. I think we all need to get these darling little ZDogg MD pen pots. I mean, I assume these are even ZDogg MD pens. He might have a merch store. It wouldn't surprise me. He's clearly, you know, very geared towards expanding his business as a rapper and internet celebrity.
Yeah, milk is racist because it's white. This is just the same shit. Skip ahead.
Serving chicken at a diabetes event is like...
Hang on. I want to see how he skipped there. Like, so he says, let's skip ahead.
Serving chicken at
So he's pretty much cherry-picked this point to come in on Steve-O's line there.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, dude, you heard it here from Steve-O, dude.
Steve-O? Is that really Steve-O? Wait, let's back up.
That's Steve-O. Yeah, dude.
It is Steve-O!
Yeah, dude, cancer. Dude.
Comedian, film, and TV host of Jackass is giving us dietary advice on how we can cause diabetes by eating chicken.
Well, actually, no. He's also a very prominent animal activist, and he's not actually saying about this causes. He's not presenting the medical research in that. He's likening it to his experiences as someone who has overcome addiction in the past. It's just there has been a response from one of these people today, and I'll go into that in a second. But you must be offended, like just repulsed at the notion that I don't know. Kip, if you're out there, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, buddy, because this is
good. Look at the tone shift. You skip ahead and all of a sudden it's like, here we are, we're vegans, we are living large, everybody lives forever, and I'm ripped.
I just want everybody to feel this way. I feel like a 20-year-old. I'm almost 50.
I'm also high as fuck right now.
So that guy is talking about how his health turned around. I believe, is this the guy that did 5 Ironman competitions? 5 islands in Hawaii, I think, if I'm remembering that right. But, you know, tonally, it got happier when they were talking about happy things. and yeah, that guy's clearly high. You notice he doesn't actually comment on the woman with osteoporosis who is able to walk without the walker anymore, or the woman taking 11 courses of pills every day with the diabetes and breathing problems, and she's now up and walking about the neighbourhood without a problem. I don't know why I'm still doing this. This is obviously garbage. Why the f*** is still here?
That was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. Tom, don't ever make me watch that kind of shit again. It was so, I feel like I've lost fucking brain cells. Really? Oh my God, I'm a holistic nutritionist.
Dude.
So, he is in fact a real doctor, or at least he did make his way through med school. The post he's got attached here: when it comes to nutrition in humans, there is no simply the one-size-fits-all solution. There is. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. I'd love to see the heat map for this page after this. If you're anything like us, you've had a ton of Facebook friends try and sell you on watching What the Health, a documentary promoting a pure plant-based diet. We're intrigued because there's lots of evidence plant-based diets can be a truly effective strategy for many people. See the work of actual scientists like Dr. Dean Ornish. The implication there is clearly the people in the documentary, like Neil Bernard, Dr. Neil Bernard, and so on, are not doctors. Also, I'm not a fan of torturing animals in factory farms. I mean, are you a fan of torturing them in farms that aren't classified as factory farms? I mean, I don't know what the point is there. So minimizing the suffering of conscious creatures is certainly a positive byproduct of a mostly plant diet. Or see also the Netflix movie. Okay, I've not seen it yet, but that's a fictional movie. I don't know if he thinks that's a real animal. I'm starting to be concerned. He might legitimately think that's an actual creature. We don't know. We don't know. Unless I can speak to him directly, we won't know. Then we watched the documentary. Thanks to our sacrifice, you can save yourself an hour and a half, 1.5 hours, an hour and a half of pure torture by watching our responses here. I think I could watch 1.5 hours of spiders crawling over people's open eyeballs, and that would be less torture than watching 10, 11 minutes of this guy just mock people. He's a bit of a shit, isn't he, to be honest? The movie displays the great characteristics of really bad thinking, confusing causation with correlation in clinical trials. Correlation is an observation. The China study is, you notice correlation. You don't notice, it's so difficult to define causation, but correlation is how you identify trends. I'm sick of hearing people say that as, well, actually the China study is completely valid because it's correlation, not causation. So, well, maybe you should understand how the world works, and what causation and correlation actually mean, and then maybe pipe up with your opinion. Relying on experts who are selling books and seminars, but have nothing to do with real science, as evidenced by the fundamental misunderstand of basic physiology. Carbs can't make you fat. Diabetes is caused by chicken consumption. Chickadee check. So that's not how you words. Words are done differently to that to make them come out correct. Steve-O is nutritional expert. Again, this whole thing is him just shitting on the careers of people infinitely better qualified to talk about this stuff than he is. So vegans relax. If a plant-based diet works for you, your lifestyle, your ethics, and your genetics. Next, he's going to be giving us the diet that your diet is determined by your blood type, which is just amazing. How cool is that? It's like saying, depending on your hair color, you should have a different diet. Mad love to you and hella namaste, bro. But this movie is still a steaming pile of rotten meat. And if you want to learn the perils of... I couldn't give a shit watching it. I'm probably going to have to, because if I start something and don't finish it, I tend to get very anxious and I can't sleep. But this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Is that the same video? It is. He's posted the same video twice. Okay, excellent. That's good. Double the views, I suppose. Yeah, so ZDogg is a doctor. He's a licensed doctor, internist. He's a hospitalist. He also does this. He's a rapper, an internet celebrity. So I'm all for people bringing education to people in accessible ways. I'm never going to anyone for that, but when the things that you should be talking about are what you're burning on the bonfire, on the sacrificial pyre to get clicks and views, that's kind of and to be honest, someone who is a doctor, in my mind, is below someone in the scale of talking about nutrition to someone who does nutritional medical research. Because they're better placed to know what they're talking about. I mean, I guess the real takeaway from this is this video is up, it's doing the rounds on social media, people are going to share it, comment. I knew this documentary was shit, I know it was bad. There are issues with the documentary. I think sometimes, that this was the same with Cowspiracy though, it wasn't as big a problem in Cowspiracy. Sometimes the animations can be quite reductive, and I think there is a little bit of detail lost, kind of talking about the actual mechanical processes behind these things. But it's a good documentary. It's popular. A lot of people have seen it, and the reason the popular thing is important is it's given a voice to people like Neil Bernard, Esselstyn, all of it. I'm trying to reel off the names, but it's hard to pick the names to reel off without just reeling off all of them. They're all infinitely well placed to talk about this stuff. It's just Garth Davis. I mean, Garth Davis has done a response, and I'll kind of show you a little bit of that in a sec. People say shit like this. They're going to keep saying shit like this. The meat industry is panicking. The dairy industry is panicking because more and more people, even non-vegans, are turning away from them for various reasons. So we're going to see more of this stuff. Be prepared. It's understandable to get angry. It's understandable to get pissed off when you see things like this. But my advice is just don't give it the oxygen of publicity. People are going to talk about it. People are going to share it. People are going to like it. You mentioned the documentary and people are going to go, oh, well, I heard a real doctor talk about it in this way. That's going to happen. Just remember the facts. Just remember, it's easy to get incensed and wound up when you see him talking about that. But actually, if you step back and examine what he's saying, he's not saying anything. He's just taking the piss out of people because that's his business. That's how he gets his money, by the memes. So just, if you can, ignore it. If people comment and kind of trying to drive you towards it, or they end up posting it on your wall, they kind of push you towards it, just say, point to some actual science he mentions. The closest thing he gets to actually talking about anything scientific is when he mentions ketosis. Not that he refers to it as ketosis, because anyone who knows a type 1 diabetic will know that's something you generally want to try and avoid. What a dickhead. I think it's best said by Dr. Garth Davis.
Hey guys, Dr. Garth Davis here. I find myself in a position of whether or not I need to sit here and answer questions about a video made by this guy.
So head over to the Good Doc's Facebook page and you can see his response in full. I'm hoping to see some more pop up from the involved individuals. I think that'd be quite interesting. In the meantime, to play us out, we're so lucky. I've managed to find some early work of our good friend ZDogg MD in his musical styling. So he's going to play us out.
Celebrate 7 weeks, Michael G and Sven. We took the holiday with all our friends. It was a time to relax and let you wear it behind. Exactly 7 weeks, but something crossed my mind. It was the sign of the time we never forget. One morning our parents kicked us out of a bed. We told them it was stupid, don't play the fool. But the answer was shut, you got to go to school.
G's running up and down and everybody know. Rapping, rocking, popping in the street kid show. Michael G rock the house and you know what I'm saying. Now when he's on a mic there will be no delay. So you better run to see him in your neighborhood. He's rapping, rocking all the way to Hollywood. Hey, check it out, these are the words we say. Yo, scream with us, we need a holiday. We gonna ring a rang a dong.
Well folks, this has been Keep a Vegan. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget you can head to Facebook to like us, and Twitter to tweet us, and we've got YouTube and the website Keep It Vegan, where there's science, there's actual science. And don't forget, you can always head to patreon.com to give us some money. I know it's not a book. If I could publish a book, I would. But for now, it's going to have to be Patreon. And don't forget, we're keeping it real with ZDogg MD.